because not everybody's medium, but the brands didn't care back in 2014. They were in their try anything, sell you whatever we can, gimmicky phase. Do we need to clock that? I don't know. Hey beauties, it's time to go back down memory lane. Let's look at the products that had us in a chokehold 5 years ago, 10 years ago. This is Spinning the Beauty Block, episode 2. It's been 10 years since Jaclyn Hill did her first favorites collab with Morphe. This was a larger palette. It had beautiful shades, jewel tone shades, purples, neutrals. And it's just so interesting to think that this is a 10-year-old palette. And that's how long it's been since Morphe became the golden child and then sort of fell from grace. But this palette was $28. And I remember at the time that Morphe had such big palettes that were super popular, like the 35O palette. They had so many different palettes that were popular. And this one came out and the beauties were mixed about it. There were so many beauty lovers that knew Morphe palettes and were putting together like their own versions of different palettes. And the thing I remember the most about this palette, besides the beautiful shades and how it sold out and people loved it so much, was a little bit of controversy. So beauties immediately spotted the price as being like, what's this about? The palette was $28. And for that, you got 28 shades. Individually, those shades were about $2 each, right? So if you think about it, you're like, okay, I'm getting kind of a deal. But Morphe sold other palettes like the 35O palette that was super popular for $22.99. And in that palette, you got 35 shades. So essentially, you were paying more money per shade. And so the beauties did not like that. I mean, $22.99 for 35 shades or $28, $27.99 for 28 shades. I don't know. Was this the kickoff of all of the controversies that ended up happening with Jaclyn Hill and Morphe? I don't know. But the shades were beautiful and the beauties loved this palette. It did sell out, but still already some controversy. And that was 10 years ago. Fenty Beauty just came out with some shimmery lip oils. And for some reason, it felt so familiar to me. And it's because of this product. This is the Fenty Beauty Cosmic Gloss Lip Glitters. These were $19 each. I think they came out with 4 shades. This was fall 2017. And I remember that this came out and it was so beautiful. The shimmery shades, it was giving glitter. It was perfect for that time. It's so interesting because now we're getting these shimmery lip oils and some sort of balmy, glossy sort of products. And it's just the same thing from 2017. Let me know, have you tried any of the new Fenty lip oils and glossy lip balms, the shimmery ones? And do you remember the ones from 2017? I didn't get any of them from 2017, but I remember some of these reviews. They looked beautiful, but is this just the same thing repackaged? I saved this picture because I wanted to go back to it and I completely forgot that I actually have some of these products. This is the Drunk Elephant Hair and Body Collection. So March 2020, bad timing, of course. March 2020, Drunk Elephant decided to expand the skincare collection into hair and body care products. So they came out with shampoo, conditioner, a scalp scrub, a tangle spray or a detangling spray, body lotion, body wash, and a deodorant cream. The products range from about $25 to $36. And this was really a collaboration. The hair products were a collaboration between Drunk Elephant and celebrity hairstylist Chris McMillan. So he's known for being Jennifer Aniston's hairstylist, so very famous celebrity hairstylist. He collaborated with the brand to come out with their hair care products. Now, the body care products and things like that were sort of separate, but they all released them at the same time. Maybe because of the timing, that's why we didn't hear a lot about, or I'm still just not hearing a lot about Drunk Elephant products. Maybe they're just okay products. I have a shampoo and I think I have the conditioner as well. Still haven't tried it. They're underneath my bathroom cabinet right now. Maybe I should try them. You know, I think that sometimes products that are not getting talked about on social media just get lost. And so we need to come back to them. I don't know. I'm going to try them and let you know what I think. But do y'all remember this collab? Have you used any Drunk Elephant body care products, shampoo, conditioner? Have you used the detangling spray? Let me know because this has been out for a while. They still have all of these products available. So let me know if you've tried them. Let's talk about Beauty Blender for a little bit. They came out with their Beauty Blender sponge and it changed the game for beauty lovers. Not too long after summer 2015, they came out with the Body Blender. This is a black sponge that's about 2 times the size of a beauty blender that you could use with self tanning lotions, bronzers, body makeup, or any other makeup formula. This is a product that's still being sold today. However, I never hear anyone talk about it. I thought this was sort of a relic from the past, but it's still on their website and you can still buy it. This is an interesting product, but you would have thought that it got more popular considering that there are lots of beauties of all skin tones that like to tan. But I think that the tanning lotions, tanning serums, tanning products, they really have their own lane. And people usually buy like the tanning mitts and sponges and things like that from the brand that they're getting their tanner for. So this didn't really have that much of a use for everyday makeup wearers. Even if you use body makeup, people who do, entertainment and movies and things like that, body makeup, use other products. I think that this sort of just fell short because the everyday makeup wearer, beauty lover doesn't really have a need for this unless they are using tanning products, and in which case they usually just get it from the tanning brand. What do you think? Did you use this product? Have you used it recently? It's $28, a little bit more than a beauty blender, but I mean, it does seem to have good reviews from the stuff that I saw online. These are the NYX Cream Suede. Why can't I say that? This is the NYX Cream Suede Liquid Cream Lipsticks. That's what they were called. Such a long name. They came out summer of 2015 for $6.99. There were 12 shades, and as you can see, we're back to the purple shades, the bright red shades, and some of the nude shades. I had a few of these back in the day, and they were matte and they dried down, but there was a little bit of like tackiness and stickiness to them, which was definitely normal for that time frame. They were comfortable on the lips. I do remember that, but it's just that sticky, tacky feeling that you get when you like press your lips together was just like annoying. The shades were fun though. There were purple shades, there was bright red shades. Like it was a cool line, and you got some neutral shades, but this was just like one of those things where you just had to be there to experience it in 2015. If you were a beauty lover at that time, you probably had one of these shades. Let me know in the comments, which shades did you have from the NYX Suede, Liquid Suede line? They came out with more shades later as well. So it's a high chance that you had one of these if you were wearing makeup at that time. Controversy, okay? You know what? Some people start off in controversy and end in controversy, and they just can't get away from it. This is the Kylie Jenner Walnut Face Scrub. This was $22. It came out summer of 2019. Little backstory, it's so funny. I actually did a whole blog post at the time once this came out of dupe products that you could buy instead of this product. Not any shade to Kylie Jenner or the Card Jenners, but people were looking for products similar to it, but not that product. So when the Walnut Face Scrub came out, there was a cleanser, there was moisturizer, all of that. When all of those products came out, and makeup wipes too, I remember those. When those products came out, immediately people started looking for dupes. I ended up writing a whole blog post about the Kylie Skin dupes that you could get. That post is completely 404 at this point. It's not on my website and I couldn't find it in my archives, but I do remember my Pinterest pin that I created for it. So I'll probably insert that so you could see it. One of the things that was a huge controversy when this whole product line came out was this walnut face scrub. Although the skincare line was fairly well received, people thought it was pretty good. Nothing holy grail level, no must-haves, but it was just good. The walnut face scrub ended up being a huge controversy. One, because people were wondering why you would come out with a physical exfoliant scrub like this. As a matter of fact, at the time, the St. Ives apricot scrub was in the middle of a class action lawsuit. 2016, that was the start of the class action lawsuit where people were using the product and felt like it was way too harsh on the skin. People were getting reactions and things like that. So why would you come out with a product that's sort of like similar to that, knowing that physical exfoliant scrubs, especially with tiny pieces like this one, which was supposed to be powdered walnut shells. Why would you come out with a product like that knowing that it's going to be controversial? I don't know. Maybe all press is good press, but this one definitely did not go over well with the beauty community. Because of the St. Ives apricot scrub controversy, beauties thought that this would maybe have the same effect, that maybe those physical walnut shells would cause microscopic tears on the skin, which ends up having your skin have bad reactions, or it could close up your pores and cause inflammation. There was just a lot of controversy about this product. I saw so many articles at that time. Even now, you can still see articles that talk about this face scrub, even though it's not even being sold anymore by Kylie Skin. What do you remember about this whole launch, the Kylie Skin products? Do you still use any of the Kylie Skin products? The walnut face scrub is not available anymore, but what do you remember about it? Let me know. Sometimes beauty products are not necessarily effective, but they're just fun to use. I mean, we all have bought things that we're just like, oh, this is cute. This will be a fun moment. Not necessarily because it's going to change your life or completely change your face, but just because it's cute and fun, right? Wishful Skin is the Huda Beauty skincare line that is still around but seems to be phasing out. They released in March of 2020, spring 2020, a chin lift and sculpt sheet mask. This was supposed to hydrate, lift, sculpt, and create that jawline snatch in just 20 minutes, which is wild to me because there's no way that you're going to get that much lift in 20 minutes. But the before and after photos look really good. I saw some reviews on this and people were saying that it subtly does give you a lift and that it lasts for just like a few hours after the treatment, which is standard for a lot of chin masks. Even if you sleep in them overnight, I saw that people were talking about a temporary effect, maybe 2 to 4 hours, and that's about it. This is kind of a gimmicky product, but kind of fun too, because it gives you that hydration. It makes you feel like you're getting that snatch maybe before a big event. This might be something to use. They still sell this, I think. I don't know. I can't remember. I didn't put it in my notes if they're still selling it. There are still a few Wishful Skin products available, but I think that they may be phasing out the entire collection, maybe phasing out the entire brand. Maybe they'll be doing a rebrand. What do you think? Have you heard about Wishful Skin and maybe some rebranding? Have you tried any of their products? There are some of the products that I love from that line, and I'll be so sad that I can't get them anymore. Let me know what you think. They were in their try anything, sell you whatever we can gimmicky phase. This is Pure Cosmetics and their Haze CBD collection. This was April 2020. Again, a pretty bad time to release any beauty products. They came out with a whole collection, product range from like $20 to $39. Let me just read you some of the products from this collection. They had a CBD infused collection that had a hybrid lip balm, a eye cream, a hydrating serum, and a replenishing facial setting spray, all with CBD, and had the amount of CBD within each of the products. So like the eye cream had 10 milligrams of CBD, the facial spray had 25 milligrams of CBD. They also came out with some makeup products that had CBD in them as well. They called it the Skin Haze collection. They had a highlighter that had 10 milligrams of CBD. This was such an interesting collection, and it's very interesting that they decided to launch it during a huge worldwide pandemic. But even still, this was just an interesting time for Pure Cosmetics. You know, they came out with the 100 Shades of Foundation. That was exciting, but then you ended up finding out that half the shades were available and not everything you could really get your hands on. You had to order it online. People were buying multiples. That's a whole nother subject for another day. But they also came out with this pretty gimmicky CBD collection. It's not being sold right now, and I think it quickly phased out just because there was a worldwide pandemic going on. I remember seeing this and being like, what is this? No one really wants this. Like, who asked for this? There was a little bit of time in the beauty community where there was like CBD, hemp, kind of naturalistic products coming out, but it seemed to be a very small space and time. As a matter of fact, now that I think about it, there's only a few products that I can think of that are like popular products still being sold today that have that hemp CBD, you know, kind of thing going on. And one of them that comes to mind is the Milk Makeup lip oils. They have something like that. But other than that, it's just really gimmicky. No one really cares. Like, let's just move on. We're back with the all-in-one palettes. Back in 2014, you were going to get an all-in-one palette, like I said, whether you liked it or not. This is the Urban Decay Naked on the Run palette for their holiday collection. And this is one of the ones where I'm like, I really wish that they sold this in different shades because I would have purchased this. With this palette, you got 5 eyeshadows. You got a pink blush that had a little shimmer to it, a bronzer, a medium bronzer, one shade, and you also got a 24/7 eyeliner, the Perversion mascara, and a lip product. I think it was a rosy shimmer lip gloss. I love palettes like these, but they were never for me, which is super sad because it always came in one shade. And yeah, they considered it like a medium bronzer. It'll be a blush that's universal, but it never really was. And it's unfortunate because something like this, I would be all over right now. Of course, beauty brands will never come out with something like this again. This was just a moment in time. $54 and you got all of this. They will never do that ever again because it's just financially, like, why would they do that when they could just sell us each individual product separately? And they did at that time. They sold all these products separately. But this is what I would consider a really fire holiday collection. If this holiday, if a brand came out with this type of palette in, I would say 4 to 5 different tones, expect it to sell out because it would be completely gone. It's such a great idea. It just sucks that you only got one shade and that was it because not everybody's medium, but the brands didn't care back in 2014. The Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette. This palette was everywhere. We don't even have to get into it because y'all already know. Summer 2018, the girlies were all over this palette. I had this palette, loved it. The shades were so unique for me. I didn't have anything in my collection, anything like any of these shades, and definitely putting together the shimmers with the matte shades. It was just a fire palette. It was $42. This was back in the days where beauties would put like the tape underneath their eyes, or they would go ahead and do their eye makeup and then wipe off all of the fallout from eyeshadows and then continue on with their makeup. Now we would consider that a bad product. Back then, it was more acceptable to have pigmented shades that had a lot of fallout and crumble. As long as it was highly pigmented and those shadows popped, we accepted that. Now, that would not fly. Beauties would be pissed if they bought a palette, $42, $50 palette, and there was a lot of fallout. I think eyeshadow formulas have just improved in that during that time. This was still a controversy though, because the shadows just sort of crumbled. This did happen with my eyeshadow palette too, but I was so happy to have it and the shades were so pigmented, I just sort of accepted the fallout. We did a lot of things that we just accepted back in 2018. That whole time was just, it was giving 2014, but still 2018. We've come a long way though, beauties. We've come a long way. Anastasia Beverly Hills responded to all the backlash about the shadows being powdery and having a lot of fallout by saying that they were going to press their next palettes harder so that there wasn't as much fallout. And they did. And you could tell with the next launch that it got a lot better and beauties were much more happy. It's so interesting that that happened back then in 2018. I think nowadays, if there's problems with products, brands are not as outspoken as they used to be about apologizing, saying what they were going to do to correct it. You get that from indie brands, smaller brands. But a lot of these bigger brands, they just don't care anymore. It's like, take our product. If you don't like it, we don't care. If you don't like it and you complain about it on the internet, good, because that just gets us being talked about more, and all press is good press for them. So Hourglass came out with their Graphite Modernist eyeshadow palettes for $58, and this was like early 2015. These are so beautiful. The way that the product and the eyeshadows are sort of flowing together. It's like an art piece. This was described as satin plus shimmers and pearl shades. These shadows were considered soft and powdery, and they didn't really come off with good pigmentation. But even still, to this day, Hourglass is not exactly known for their eyeshadows. This was such a beautiful collection, but the shadows were just not performing that great. And I want to also mention too, when brands come out with eyeshadow palettes like this, and they come out with that bone shade, it just reminds me of the time where neutral shades and neutral colors were not made for people any deeper than medium. I mean, if you had a good tan, you could not get at some of these lighter shades that were considered like base shades, brow shades. I'm glad we've come a long way, but back then it was still a struggle to get any sort of base neutral shades for medium, medium deep, and deeper skin tones. Liquid highlighters and liquid bronzers are so popular right now. But back in 2022, Natasha Denona came out with the Hygiene Primer Serum. This was $48. It was considered a lightweight primer that was going to last 72 hours while also balancing the oil in your T-zone, giving you a fresh, what they call baby skin feel. Did glowy bronzer drops replace like the serums and primer drops that we used to love? This was 2022, and even earlier than that, brands like Versali had their glow drops, and it was such a popular product, but now it's all about liquid bronzers. There's some highlighters coming back into the space, but I feel like they've been sort of replaced. And Natasha Denona did come out with this product and it was well received, but I don't see anyone talking about it anymore. Now that we're getting glowy, dewy products and brands like Glow Recipe have pretty much cornered the market on anything glowy, I wonder if this product is like just was too ahead of its time, a few years. Even if this product came out in a relaunch with additional shades, I bet you it would go wild on social media. It's still being sold today too, I think. I think I saw it. I think it's still being sold today. If not, I'll correct myself. Sephora Collection came out with makeup wipes probably late 2016, early 2017, and they had a bunch of different ones. So they've had like the rose cleansing ones. They had some that were yuzu cleansing wipes. They had some exfoliating wipes with green tea. They had a bunch of different ones, and they're still being sold today. Back when they first came out, their formula was amazing. I remember doing an entire blog post where I talked about some of my favorite Sephora Collection makeup wipes. You can get small packs of them now for about $4 up to $10. But when I first came across them, I was obsessed until they changed the formula. I'm still mad about that. Why do y'all change? Why do brands change the formula on us and it's never better? Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you have a product that you used to love, they changed the formula and you love just as much or even more? Let me know, because I always feel like beauty brands change the formulas or change something about a product and then it's just worse and I'm like upset. I used to love these Sephora cleansing wipes. I used to use them all the time. I had the rose ones, the yuzu ones, all of those, right? And then they changed the formula around 2020, 2021, and they quickly fell from grace for me. I don't know if it was an actual formula change, but I know that they changed the size and the thickness of the actual cleansing wipes, which made you go through more of them faster. It was so annoying. So then I just stopped buying them because I was like, there's no reason for me to be buying these if they're going to be thin and like not as good. They're just not as good. Now that they're like thinner and smaller, I just do not like them and I'm just sad about it. So do you remember these though? Do you remember the Sephora Collection makeup wipes when they originally launched and they were really good? Let me know. I used to love Sephora Collection favorites kits. And even though I've bought some in recent years, back in that 2016 to 2018 time, that was peak Sephora favorites time where you really got good products and you got multiple full size products. This was one of the ones that I bought back in 2017. It was $42. You got multiple full size products. You got like a Bare Minerals full size product, a full size beauty blender, and so many good products. And I just wanted to shout this out because I got this one from JCPenney. Remember when Sephora was a collaborator with JCPenney? Now Sephora has partnered with Kohl's, but back then it was Sephora and then Sephora inside JCPenney, and JCPenney did their own versions of their Sephora Collection kits. I used to love them so much. Shout out to anybody who remembers the Sephora and JCPenney era versus the Sephora and Kohl's era, which I still like. I still like both of their collaborations and stuff like that. I'm saying too much. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Let's move on. I am a cushion foundation girly. I just haven't found one that worked really well for me since this one. This is the Maybelline New York Dream Cushion Fresh Liquid Foundation. This came out early 2017 for $15.99. I think it had about 8 shades or so. Of course, that wouldn't fly now. And I was the deepest shade, but I loved this product. I loved it. I had shade 60 Cocoa, and this was my first time trying a cushion foundation. And ever since then, I have been on a journey to find one that I love. Brands really have a lot to do when it comes to cushion foundations. Even the tier cushion foundations, I reviewed them on my social media pages and I was not impressed. They oxidized so much. I was between two shades. I went through this whole deep dive journey of trying to make them work and they just did not work. I love that cushion foundations now come in better shade ranges, but the undertones are still something they need to work with. And I get it. There being a lot of cushion foundations have SPF coverage. And with that, the undertones get a little shifty. I think to not make them have a white cast, they're leaning more towards warm shades in deeper skin tones, but that just makes me look orange. I end up looking orange or red most of the time. They sold it for quite a long time, but they don't sell it anymore. If they came out with this product in an expanded shade range again, this would sell out. I'm surprised that Maybelline has not jumped on the cushion foundation like train, considering like how viral the tier foundations have gotten. I'm surprised they have not come out with new dream cushions and just like cornered the market, the US market here. And at the drugstore, a cushion foundation from the drugstore in an expanded shade range would eat down. Maybelline, get on it, get in the lab. We can't talk about old beauty products, the 2017 beauty guru era, without talking about highlighter palettes. We talked about it a little bit last time in my first episode, but this is the Huda Beauty Winter Solstice collection. This came out fall 2017 and it was $45. The brand released these big palettes, these big pen palettes that came in these beautiful shades, these sort of intergalactic bluish shade. There was a golden shade. There was like a pinky shade. These were dual chrome highlighters that ate down and people went crazy for it. Highlighters were everything. Of course, you can still use highlighters. Now we're getting them more in creamy, balmy formulas. But back then, you would get a highlight palette like this and you were strobed, okay? You put them on your eyes, your nose, cheeks, everywhere. It was a thing. Let me know, were you a highlighter girly? Because I certainly was. This was such a beautiful palette. And I remember at that time that, of course, all of the drugstore brands were like, oh no, we can do this too, you know. Wet n Wild came out with their own Mega Glow highlighters, individual highlighters, and then they came out with an entire palette fall 2017. So around that same time. Of course, their highlighters were much more affordable, at individual ones being about $4.99, and then the actual Mega Glow highlighter palette being $14.99. What do you remember about these highlight palettes? This Mega Glow highlighter, the Golden Flower Crown shade, was so beautiful. I remember having that shade. I loved it so much. Even though now I get more at a subtle glow, a subtle highlighter that really, really matches my skin tone, back then I was getting it gold. Like gold highlighters. Like I needed to beam. I needed you to see me from space, honey. And then we can't talk about the highlighters without Maybelline. Maybelline came out with what I would consider probably the most popular drugstore highlighter, really, of any of that 2010s era. They came out with holographic versions of the highlighters, their master chrome, master holographic highlighters in fall of 2018. They were just under $10 at like $9.99. And they came out with holographic shades because of course they came out with holographic shades, because at that time, if you did not have a holographic highlighter, what were you doing with your brand? It was part of the beauty brand journey to have holographic highlighters at some point. This one was so cute. They had such beautiful shades. That pink shade was super beautiful. The purple shade had like a shift that looked gorgeous. These were the type of holographic highlighters you could really wear anywhere, and it didn't really matter what skin tone you were, because you were just going to strobe and be bright and you could see it and it looks beautiful. You didn't have to have a certain skin tone to get away with any of the highlighters that came out in that 2017-2018 era, and I miss that. Allure is such a great lash brand, and they still to this day sell Vegas Nay collaboration lashes. If you don't know, Vegas Nay is a OG makeup artist, that came out with lots of different product collaborations with Allure, individual lashes, and even like a highlighting and brow palette. This has been a collaboration that's lasted for so long. As a matter of fact, in 2015, I had some of the Vegas nail lashes, and I can tell you 100% that I never wore any of these lashes. I was not a lash girl back then. Thank goodness we now have individual lashes, pre-glued lashes, because that's what I get at. I still struggle with putting on lashes. I bought these, and this is one of the pictures that I'll show you is like of the lashes that I bought from this collaboration. I bought these thinking that I was going to become a lash girly. I just wanted it so bad, but it never worked out for me. I could never get it. For years, Allure and Vegas Nay were doing these collaborations, and Allure also did some collaborations with popular beauty influencers at that time that had beautiful different lash collabs. So that's something that they've really leaned on. Even though I remember having these lashes and not using them, it's just so fun to look back on the time that, like, even in 2015, lashes were like really popular. Let me know, are you just a mascara girl? Are you a lash girl? What are you feeling? Do you do individual lashes, strip lashes? Do you do your lashes at home? Do you get them done by a lash tech? Let me know what the vibe is. Most of the time I'm wearing mascara or individual pre-glued lashes because I struggle. I'm still struggling. It was 2015 and I couldn't get it. 10 years later, I'm still struggling to figure out how to do my lashes. Speaking of influencer collabs, Elf and Alyssa Ashley joined together to come out with this nude rose lip gloss. This was fall of 2017. Of course, the gloss was affordable at just $6. This was such a beautiful collab. I remember it being like such a big deal, not only for Alyssa Ashley, but all of her fans. This was such a great moment in time. I really love brands that lean into doing collaborations with beauties of color, of course. And back then, that wasn't very often that you were getting a collab. Influencer collabs were sort of new in general, but influencer collabs with Black and brown beauties were even more rare. And so this was just such a fun moment. The gloss was beautiful. I would love for brands to bring back older collabs because something like this, I would jump on immediately to buy. What do you remember about different e.l.f. collabs? Let me know because I remember a lot of them, but I always have to go back into my archives to like find the pictures and it brings back so many memories. Another collab that really broke the beauty internet. This was the Dose of Colors Desi and Katy collection. This one went 2017 viral. This was viral before viral. The products range from like $15 to $18. There was an eyeshadow quad. There were highlighters. There were lip products. This was just such a beautiful collab. And I remember how crazy this collab was. So much so, people loved it so much that they ended up coming out with a second collection, fall of like 2018. It had a beautiful eyeshadow palette. This was just such a great collab. Dose of Colors is one of those brands that doesn't get talked about as much anymore, but they really had a moment in the beauty space. Those years around 2017 and 2018 was really big for Dose of Colors. They have great products. They're still around, but they're not being talked about as much, even though they have great products. What do you remember about Dose of Colors? What were your favorite products? Okay, I have yapped about old beauty products enough now. What were your favorite products? What were your favorite highlighters? What were your favorite influencer collabs? Let me know what you want to see next or what you want me to find out about. If you remember one of your favorite products from back in the day and you want me to cover it, let me know because I'll get to it. I promise. I don't know how to give a good outro, y'all. So just follow Nubelease on all social media platforms. Subscribe to Nubelease on YouTube. I've got more videos coming, and especially if you like new beauty releases and talking about old products, I've got some stuff for you. So subscribe now and join my Nubelease News newsletter. I talk about beauty sales, beauty releases, all sorts of things, and I will see you next time. Of course, I don't have like the right lighting, right? So it's like artificial lighting here, natural lighting here, and it's like all coming in from all different times. But I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out eventually. This is only my second video, right?